Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm interviewing tonight John Finkle, a Republican candidate for the Board of Education. Good evening, John.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Why don't you just tell the voters a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Board of Education?
Well, been on the board now. This will, at the conclusion of this term, will be actually, cause I got on in midterm of the first year, so it'll be about 9.5 years. I'm a lifelong resident of East Haven, came through the East Haven educational system, and several years back I had the opportunity to get involved in the Board of Education, and it's become a passion of mine. And I'm looking forward to being reelected if they so choose, and getting back and continuing on with the good work that we're doing.
The couple of things that have come up over the last year, and you've heard me, I'm sure, on the show,
Oh, yeah.
railing about class sizes. What do you think?
Well, I think that as a board and as an administrative team, it's been a focus of the administrative team that we have. And over the course of the last 8 or 9 years, I believe we've done a very good job of taking classroom sizes down from the mid-20s on average. Most of our classrooms back several years back were 22, 23, 24. Our average classroom size now is 17, 18 students. In the high school, you might find a few more students simply because one particular course may have had more people looking to get into that class than another. But at the same token, we also have classrooms that have 8 or 10 in them in some of the elective type classes. But I think overall, we've done a very good job of bringing the classroom size down. And I think what's going to happen now is if we're going to bring it down any lower, I think we have to look at it from an economic standpoint. Our student enrollment, if you look over the 10 years, is down 700, 800 students. So we still have probably 10 more teachers than we did 10 years ago. So that's one of the contributing factors to why the classroom sizes are down. But I think it's going to become an economic issue as to how much lower you can bring the classroom sizes down.
Yeah, one of the things that was brought up last interview was the number of school buildings that we've got. We've got a lot of buildings.
Yes, that was something that was adopted in East Haven many years ago. The neighborhood school concept is something that the residents of East Haven seem to favor. It's an expensive educational model, but I believe there's some good qualities to having that neighborhood school system that I think before the Board of Ed or the town starts to look at making too significant a change to that, they need to look at. And I like the concept of the neighborhood school system, but I also see the benefit of the model that has, let's say, a K-3 program, an intermediary school, a middle school, and a high school. You look at some of our costs, administrative costs. Everything is multiplied by 11. So that's one of the factors that you have to take into consideration. It's a good model, but it's a costly one.
And with the heating, electricity being what it is, it's certainly not going to get any cheaper.
Exactly. And I don't know how much more efficient a bigger building would be than 2 smaller buildings, but I think it's certainly an avenue that both the town and the board have to look at for the future. What are the future needs of the educational system, and which way are we better going? But I also believe that we need to stay in touch with the residents, because I can tell you that from talking to the residents, they like the neighborhood school system.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Just a question of cost. The other thing that comes up kind of a lot recently, because I guess both sets of test scores just came out in the last month, 6 weeks or something like that.
Right.
Some are good, some are not so good. What are your thoughts?
You're right. And every year it's that same process we go through. Everybody waits to see what the test scores are. In the past, the system had been very reactionary to them. Big, massive changes would happen, whether it be curriculum or what have you. I think over the last several years, we've stayed pretty steady in our course as far as the changes that have been made in the curriculum, and we've given them a chance to kind of play out. And we've made, the administration has made tweaks where they need to make them a little better, but they've given them a chance to settle in. And I think the result is, yeah, we have some areas that we want to bring up on our test scores, but they're 2- and 3-fold better than they were 10 years ago. And I, one of the things that I'm hit with all the time, or I used to be, was they always talked about our ERG group. And then people would say, well, yeah, you're talking about the ERG group, but why aren't we as good as Brantford or Guilford or our surrounding towns? And I think if you compare our grade level scores to those surrounding towns, you'd be pretty impressed with where we stack to them and the progress we've made over the 10 years.
One of the things that came up last night was the question about language instruction in the middle school. Mm-hmm. Some of the parents showed up and were complaining about not having language instruction for all the students in the middle school. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've got to say that the board approved a direction change, which was the addition of the additional language arts period. We weren't. I don't think the board members were aware that some of the things that were sacrificed may have been the foreign language option for some of the students. I can tell you that I've heard from many parents, and we are in the process of rectifying that. That is something that we will not wait until next year to rectify. That will be rectified this year, because I'm finding that there are students who have multiple study halls in a week, and along with the dual language arts period, I think we could challenge that student a little bit more by introducing the language versus the study hall.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the point that some of the parents were making, and it seemed like a reasonable point to me. We brought up a little bit about the cost of the school system, and you know that I've been bringing this up to just about anybody who will listen to me, is the cost of overhead versus actual money spent in classrooms, and we're about 50-50, which is significantly under what the recommendation of 60-65% in classroom is. What do you think?
Well, everything becomes a numbers game, and for example, the per pupil spending in the overall budget. If you looked at if we still ran with the same number of students we had 10 years ago in our school system, it would appear as though we're spending a whole lot less per student, simply because the number of students divided, you divide that into the total budget, and that's, they come up with the average. But again, I think all the factors that play into how those numbers average out is we have 11 buildings, we have 11 administrators, we have an administrator in every building, we have a nurse now in every building. So when you add in all those factors, it's going to skew the numbers, And even in those situations where it appears as though there's school districts that are spending thousands of dollars per student, in reality, the actual dollar amount that goes to hard, tangible items to the student is insignificant in the big picture. But I do say that as long as the numbers stay strong, meaning the actual dollars put into resources, teachers, and continuing to keep classroom sizes down low, that number I don't think is as meaningful as it looks on paper.
We're getting a high sign that
Yes,
we need to wrap this up. Let me just ask you one question I've been asking everybody. What do you think about the mayor's race?
Well, actually, for the first year, first time in an election, it's not splattered all over the newspaper. So it appears as though there's not a lot going on. But I got to say that, I have to support the current administration. I am on the Republican team. They've been very good to the Board of Education over the last 10 years. Every year, you go in for 6%, you get your 4%. But we always knew that the 4% funded what we needed to continue to grow the program and to stay focused on our commitment to providing a quality education. So I see it as I look at the big picture, the town is going in the right direction, and I really don't see much reason for change.
All right. Well, thank you, John. This has been John Finkle, Republican candidate for the Board of Education in the November 6th election, and remind everybody to get out there and vote.
Thank you.